Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. This video is a response video, and I'm responding to a video that was posted by Sophie Shohet on the 10th of March 2021. She is a YouTuber focused on beauty, fashion and lifestyle. We overlap on the fashion and lifestyle side of things. Her video was entitled "How Luxury Lost Its Exclusivity, or Has It?" And it was a video posted on the back of a comment that one of her viewers made, where she was asking Sophie her thoughts on the Chanel Classic Flap, which she wanted to buy, but she felt once a bag becomes too accessible, has it essentially lost its exclusivity? Sophie couldn't give a categorical yes or no answer to the question, but she did give her arguments for and against. And what piqued my interest were a couple of things. Firstly, thank you, Sophie, for getting conversations around the whole luxury topic that add value, that are fun, that enlighten, that educate, that just help people make better informed decisions. And it's something that I think more people should do. Just be inquisitive. Let's chat. Let's exchange ideas. The other reason this video piqued my interest was the exclusivity element, because exclusivity is pivotal to my channel. I'm focused on buy better, buy less, with an emphasis on brands that are very much under the radar and pack a mighty quality punch. So that exclusivity is very much fitting with the theme of my channel. And hence I thought I'd chime in on the back of Sophie saying she welcomed comments for and against, wanting to know what people thought. And I agreed with a lot of what Sophie said, but I also wanted to bring in a different angle to some of her comments. I'm Anesu Sagonda, and I produce educational luxury content geared towards people who are after the finer things in life. So whether you're somebody who's young and starting out and wanting to reap the benefits of buying quality from the get-go, or you're somebody who's just fanatical about luxury but wanting to buy more of your under-the-radar, heavily weighted on quality brands, or you're somebody who's just new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, then my content is very much for you. I'm going to include the link to Sophie's video in the description box down below. I have 3 comments I'm going to work through in this video, and I'm going to give each comment its own section. I'm going to kick off with the first question, where Sophie responded and said that she didn't think brands like Chanel, for example, were experiencing exclusivity erosion. It was merely social media that was giving the impression that the brands were typically overexposed, that they were now becoming commonplace, as she said. But I actually think every single luxury brand in this world experiences some level of exclusivity erosion, some more than others. And what I found is that as you go up the levels of luxury, the brands typically become a lot more exclusive. I'm going to attach a video above where I was talking about the different levels of luxury. There are 7 levels of luxury, and as you go up the different levels, so does the price of the products go up. But what you also find as you go up is that the quantity produced and the number of retail outlets selling the products also reduces. But as I said earlier, exclusivity goes up as you go up the levels of luxury. And you really notice it, particularly brands at the very top end, your ultra high end, and also your bespoke. I'm also going to attach my most recent handbag video, Hierarchy of Handbag, the final series where I was talking about ultra high end bags. This is where you get to understand what a brand at the top end of the market is like, the exclusivity, what that entails, and so forth. But going back specifically to the matter at hand, when it comes to bags, look at London, for example. Whether you are in central London or within a 2 to 3 mile radius, you tend to find a lot of the brands Sophie mentioned. So your Saint Laurent, your Chanel, your Hermes. Central London, whether it's people who are working, the workers in the shopping districts, out and about, the restaurants, socializing, whether it's visitors to London, it's tourists or it's locals going out. And then 2 to 3 miles out of the center of London, north, south, east and west, whether it's east all the way through to Shoreditch, your Hoxton, North, Hampstead, Camden, St John's Wood, West, you're talking Notting Hill, Chelsea, Knightsbridge, Putney, or south, Wandsworth, your Battersea, where it's residential, it's affluent areas, people who are wealthy who own these bags. But what you'll find is the market for luxury is still a fairly young market. It's very much driven by the Chinese, but it's a young market and it's going through first-time purchases. So people are typically buying their first luxury item. So whether it's a bag, a pair of shoes, or an item of clothing. Where you see people with a lot of designer bags, whether it's on social media or someone you might know local to you in your area, whatever it may be, that person or that situation is an anomaly. People are typically still buying their first item of luxury. And what you have to understand with luxury is at the core of it, it's essentially about people wanting to create an identity. They want to find a brand they identify with, a brand that speaks to them. By investing in luxury, a person is typically wanting to set themselves apart from the crowd. They want to stand out. They want to feel special. They want people to look at them and think, wow, they have this item that many people look at and admire and possibly aspire to. And then what the brands very cleverly do is they then jump in and create iconic products. So think of Givenchy with your Antigona, Louis Vuitton with the Speedy or the Alma, Christian Dior with the Lady Dior, Hermes with the Birkin, you have Gucci with the Marmont. They create these iconic products and they sell them at very, very high prices relative to similar products from other brands, but it's products within the same group, but at a very high level, high price. And what they do, how they sell these iconic products at a high price is they use incredibly slick, very smart, strategic marketing campaigns that give the impression of exclusivity. And they're then able to sell high volumes of these products to people who are aspirational, people aspiring to a certain identity, as I mentioned. People buy luxury for their identity. So brands will sell these products to people who are aspiring to achieve something. So it's a win-win situation for these brands that they find people who want these products. They're able to capitalize potentially on people's insecurities, their desires, their needs, their wishes, and make a lot of money from that. So going back to what Sophie was saying, when you look at bags, for example, your Chanel bag, your Hermes bag, Saint Laurent, there are different levels of luxury. So Saint Laurent, for example, is premium core. Premium core, think of brands such as Gucci, you have Prada, you have Miu Miu, you have Valentino, Givenchy, Balenciaga, Fendi, and so forth. Your super premium, that's where you have Chanel, you have Christian Dior, you have Bottega Veneta, the more common ones, the better known ones. And then the top end, you have Hermes, and then a number of other brands. I'm going to attach a video above where I actually go into detail about some of the ultra high-end brands and ultra high-end and bespoke brands. So as you go up those levels, they become increasingly more exclusive. But what you find is you come down to the bottom end with your premium core luxury brands. Those brands you will find are more focused on the mass. And this is where you really see that the exclusivity has been eroded. You will find with a lot of these brands, they will go on sale. So if you look at Chanel, you look at Hermes, you look at Louis Vuitton, those are brands that Sophie talks a lot about in her videos. If you go through a lot of her videos, I will put those to the side. But the premium core videos, that includes Saint Laurent, which she also mentioned, and I will mention again when I'm talking about price. Those premium core brands are more mass focused, as I said. So what they will do is they will sell some of their products on sale. End of the season, get rid of stuff, it goes on sale. They will send it off to discount malls. So think of places such as Bicester Village in the United Kingdom or Woodbury Common in New York. They either send end of season stuff that's a year or 2 years old, or they create collections specifically for your discount malls. That action takes away from the exclusivity of the brand. And then coupled with the fact that they are offering them at a discount, that takes away from the value and also the exclusivity. You'll also find the same premium core brands will typically get involved in your fast fashion collaboration. So think, for example, H&M has collaborated with Dem, with Lanvin, the most successful Balmain, Karl Lagerfeld, and right now they're collaborating with Simona Rocha. That takes away from the exclusivity. You also find, for example, when they have retail outlets around casinos, Bellagio in Vegas, in Monte Carlo, around the casino, they have a number of designer retail outlets around there. That takes away from the exclusivity. Having retail outlets around airports, again, that takes away from the exclusivity. And then you have your more, what I call the better brands, so your super premium, your ultra high end. You have them having exhibitions in the city. So, for example, Saatchi has had a Chanel exhibition. You have V&A with the Christian Dior. Again, it takes away from the exclusivity of the brand. So you find the brands are doing small incremental things that are taking away from the exclusivity. They're opening up their brands to a much bigger audience for people who just want to invest in luxury, who can't afford the full prices, but they come in via the sale route. So where Sophie was saying social media creates a lot of hype, it does, but I actually think we're starting now with time to see stores that are coming up where you can buy discounted designer brands and so forth. So we're seeing the erosion of the exclusivity. And then moving on to the second part, which is the price. And I agreed with everything Sophie said about Hermes, Saint Laurent, Chanel, up until she said Hermes have put their prices up because they'd like to minimize sales. And there was actually a comment from one of the viewers in her video, which I'll also try and attach if I can find it in this video, where they were saying they're trying to keep the brand from poor people. One thing I have to say, and this is the only thing I disagreed with Sophie, is that your big brands, your big luxury brands, so your Hermes, your Chanel, your Louis Vuitton, they will do absolutely nothing at all to minimize sales. They will do everything in their power, in their might, to make sure they maximize on their sales. And they do this very cleverly in a way that sometimes people actually miss. And the way they do it ensures they're making literally billions of dollars in revenue. So those three brands, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and Hermes, they keep a very tight grip on their prices. And they don't ever offer a discount. And why they do this is because they want to create value. They create value around their brand, around their products. And when I say value, they make you think you're buying into more than just a bag. You're buying into the prestige, the heritage, the quality, the craftsmanship. You're buying a precious product that has many facets, that brings a lot to the table. You're buying a value-added product, and they charge a premium. They charge a high price for that. If they ever offered any of their items on sale, your perception, the impression, the high regard you have for their products would come down. So think of a brand. Everybody does this. It's not me. Most people do this. Gap. I have never, and I'll never pay for anything full price in Gap. I like their jeans, but I would never consider paying £50. I think they're worth £50, but because they're always offering sales and discounts, paying £50 means I'm paying too much. It's not worth that. I would rather wait for the sale or a discount code. Now imagine if you had the Chanel 2.55 and it goes on sale at the end of the season. You'd never pay full price unless you're desperate for the item. You wouldn't have the same regard, you wouldn't hold it up in the same esteem, or think Chanel has the same value as it does if it went on sale. That's why those three brands never go on sale. And if you remember, I think it was even mentioned in one of your videos, Sophie, is that Burberry and Louis Vuitton got into a lot of trouble for literally burning end of season stock, and they do this because they want to maintain the integrity of the brand. More so Louis Vuitton, which has a slightly higher reputation and prestige than Burberry, but they do it for the same reason. Louis Vuitton cannot afford to have any of their products go on sale. That would just dilute the brand. It would make it cheap. It would cheapen the value, and it's one of the most copied brands. because it's so high profile. It has a lot of hype and people can't afford it, but it's copied. And the brand is brutal about protecting the integrity of their brand. So one of the things is to burn end of season stock. They'd rather burn it and suffer that loss than to actually have stuff on sale and still make a bit of money. But the reputation, the prestige of the brand will have been ruined if it goes on sale. So brands, those three brands will never go on sale, which leads on to the fact that you said Hermes, for example, puts the price up to minimize sales. No, they will always have sales because people value Hermes. People are willing to pay. Every year they put up their prices because of rising costs, production costs, raw materials, whatever it may be, currency fluctuations. They put it up, and also because people are willing to pay extra. Because you value Hermes and everything it stands for, you will pay the extra premium every season. But what happened this year, which was exceptional, rather last year, 2020, where they had the two price increases. And again, I remember seeing videos on your channel where people were talking about these price increases. Why these price increases happened was not because they're trying to keep the brand away from the poor, purely for economic reasons. Why they did it was because they wanted to be able to still make money, even though they knew their stores would be closed and they wouldn't be able to make the same amount they had anticipated if the stores had remained open. So by putting up their prices, they're putting up their margins. So essentially the price it costs to produce something or buy it versus what they sell it, that difference, if they put up the price, it means they'll make a little bit extra. But because their biggest the biggest drivers of luxury are the Chinese, and because the stores were closed and they weren't making any sales, it meant, okay, let's put up the prices. So it puts up the margins. And then when it comes to the net profit, because they've put up the margins, they're able to make a little bit more. So the revenue goes up. They take away any costs associated and they're left with the net profit. They would still be helping their net profit a little bit because China was closed for a few months. So there were no sales whatsoever. And they still wanted to try and salvage the situation as best they could. And China, as I've mentioned a few times, drives the luxury market. And now people in China are buying products locally. Before, Chinese people preferred to buy in Europe because they wanted to make sure they're getting the real McCoy. They liked the service in Europe, the whole experience of buying a European brand in Europe, and also the price difference. But now, with brands like Chanel, who have harmonized prices, so they charge the same for all their products worldwide. You also have a situation where the Chinese government put down the VAT from 16 to 13%. Louis Vuitton passed that on to their customers. So Chinese people are buying locally. So what the two brands wanted to do, Chanel and Hermes, for example, but also Louis Vuitton, was when the Chinese stores opened after the pandemic, they wanted to try and ride that momentum where the Chinese would come back strong and wanting to buy and buying from their local markets. So they bumped up the prices to try and help them recoup a little of what they had missed out on when the stores were closed. So that's what it essentially really boiled down to. My third comment was the one where you talked about the influencers and how they're getting involved with marketing a lot of the luxury goods. Instead of using a celebrity, you use the influencer. It makes better sense. I'm a huge fan of that, but I feel as a viewer myself at times, we as viewers collectively need to be a lot more discerning. Instead of just watching videos where people are doing unboxings or hauls, or just doing the same thing, repetitive things, the same brands, be more discerning, demand more from influencers, for example, that they add value to their videos, whether it's talking about niche products, comparing with other brands, looking at variables in the market. I just think as consumers of content, we should demand higher standards. We should want more from our influencers instead of just showing items, but what else is there? What other products are out there? How does it compare to this? Just being more discerning in what you want, making your money work for you, and investing in potentially brands that not everyone's talking about. Go beyond the ones everyone talks about. It's a bit tricky now because people are very much focused. As I said, it's a first-time buyer's market. So people are focused on what is hip, what's trending, and wanting to be part of that wave of buying what everybody associates as cool, as hip, as trendy. But there comes a point where as consumers, we should be more discerning, demand better quality products, look at products that have better provenance when you look at how the products are made, where they're made, how they perform, how they last, and so forth. I'm somebody who just wants more, and I think that's what also was the driver as to why I started my YouTube channel, that I wanted to create a channel where I really add value. I make someone come to my channel and they go away having learned something, and they think a little bit more before they make a purchase. But I've enjoyed your videos, Sophie. I enjoy watching your videos. Keep the content coming. It's a lot of fun. I hope we have more conversations going on and people chime in with different perspectives. It makes it a lot more fun. But thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll do something in response.